Everybody, welcome to the Secret Restaurant Podcast. I will be your host for this journey. My name is Nate Hoyle. Be interesting to see how this goes because I went to a little concert. Actually, I shouldn't say little. I hate that shit. Whenever people, like, if you are working on something, it doesn't even have to be art. It could be like you're starting a business or you're working on anything, I don't know what, and then you talk to someone and they describe it as little. Oh, your little books. When does the career transform from being little to just being regular? It's a good question, Nate. Let's think about it. Probably when people start to know what you're doing who don't know you, maybe. I don't know. Is that true? Anyway, I went to a concert last night, and so my ears are... I need to start wearing earplugs. I don't like them. Except I got a pair of earplugs from a music store because I wanted to get ones that... I think in my imagination, earplugs are different than they actually are, which I should have been already known what earplugs were like, is that they plug your ears. But for some reason... in my mind, I thought there were magical earplugs out there that like literally just turn the volume down. But it's still, whenever I put them on, which I've used a few, it just feels like I can't enjoy the music as much. But I need to start wearing them because of just the amount of shows I go to. And it's a pain in the ass afterwards not being able to hear. So I'm going to be, my imagination now is that I'm going to be yelling at you on accident. Maybe that's not true, but there are like different earplugs to change how much decibels it cuts out. And when I got mine, I literally just put the first, whatever you call rubber thing. I just put the first ones on, and now I feel like I've brought them to shows. I've used them, and every time it's like I put them in, and then I don't want to use them, so I take them out because like maybe there's also a quality to being at a show and it's way too loud and you can hear the fucking kick of the bass drum and the guitars are shredding. It also depends on, I think, the amps and stuff too, because some bands, I don't know, I said this in the past, some bands like, you guys are using like way too much treble. Like it's just like cutting through the air. All right, no more complaining. But yeah, so I saw 3 bands. All of them were a lot of fun. I know the bands on the bill, but I don't know which names were attached to which bands, I don't think. Because I never heard of any of them. But pretty fun. One of them, I've been seeing this more. Sometimes bands they don't have a bass player, and they do like one of those octave pedals. And so the guitar plays both low-end bass and the higher riffs of a guitar at the same time. Which is it sounds pretty cool. And I like that style, but I also love bass. I also love when bass and guitar are doing different things, or like accommodating what each one is doing. Like that's exciting. But one of the bands, it was just guitar and drums and singing. They both sang, they both harmonized, and the arrangements were like fucking crazy. And that was the band that the guitarist, she had both lower octave and higher octave, and it was super heavy. It sounded sick. Yeah, I should have worn earplugs though. And I don't wear them to my band practices either, but then we don't really play. We play like loud because there's real drums. But I don't really feel the same coming out of practice as I do going to live shows. Like I don't ever feel like my ears have like, that your ears feel plugged after a show. I don't really get that after practice. And then also, if you're like working on writing stuff, you need to be like we kind of improvise a lot, and the ears are important to listening to everything and paying attention to the subtleties. Do I sound like a douche? Maybe. Yeah, the glory, the no, the one- the expensive. Maybe that's the difference between if someone was like, oh, I went to your little concert, or someone just says like I went to a concert. Maybe the difference is how much the tickets cost. Maybe that's how people differentiate between little and regular is how much you drop on the entrance fee. But yeah, I went to that In Flames show. I was talking about it last time. The venue is it's called the Rust Belt in East Moline, and I've seen a few shows there. But after going this last time, I got to say the venue is like perfect for metal. It's sort of, I don't know if it used to be a warehouse. It's just like a huge empty space. I mean, there's like kind of pillars in it, but for the most part, it's like you go in the entrance and then it's like 50, 70 yards to the stage, but it's all like brick walls and the floor is all concrete. And we got in there and the first band was playing. It was like kind of a extreme hardcore. It wasn't super technical. It was more just like super heavy chugging riffs, and then the drummer was insane. And like he was doing the most technical stuff, and like when he was playing, it sounded like every fucking drum hit was just going straight from his kit right to the back wall. Super heavy. And they got like the sound engineers in the middle of it. The sound of it is like, I mean, I think it's an incredibly underrated venue. They get a lot of metal there, and I'm definitely going to try and go out there more. It's kind of a drive, but yeah, so In Flames has been on my playlist. I was listening to their albums when I bought the ticket, and then I kind of took a break, and then seeing them again, I was like, kind of listen to them all the time again. Really fun. Their career was crazy. It's like they started out traditional death metal, kind of. I mean, there was melodic elements, but one thing I read that I did not know is that the original drummer, or the drummer on the first few albums, he put together 3 albums on drums, and then there's been the same singer the whole time. But he actually, after 3 albums, switched over to guitar and has been playing guitar ever since. And their sound shifted to like what their sound is today, so that's kind of crazy. They leaned less into like death metal and more into melodic death metal, and then almost just melodic metal. I mean, the more I live my life, the more I realize that all of the metal purists that were like telling me what to listen to when I was like in high school and stuff were all wrong. And I think people's opinions change too, but people used to always say like those first few albums that were heavy and brutal were like the best ones, and then they quote unquote sold out. Which is like their change of sound is like kind of crazy how much it changed. And then they kind of got into a point where they were using like auto-tune like a lot of bands were, which I'll still listen to songs off those albums, but they're definitely like lower on their grand scheme of discography. And then the album they came out with in 2023 was kind of back to the roots. Super heavy album. And I was listening to it a lot, and then stepped away from it, and then I listened to it again. I was like, oh, these songs are on the new album. These songs are like super heavy and super like going back to their old form. Another crazy lineup thing is that I didn't know this until I went to the show, and then I could see the stage really well. We were pretty close up, and then one of the guitarists, I was like, wait, is that dude I saw play with Megadeth? And I didn't look it up in the show because I didn't want to be like on my phone or whatever. But then I got back in the car and I looked it up, and yeah, this dude he was playing in Megadeth in like 2008, and I saw him live with Megadeth, and then whatever it is, 18 years later, 17 years later, depending on when the show was, he's playing in Flames now. So we're just one of those career musicians with a probably reliable, hardworking professional, but he also fucking shreds, dude. And he was on that album I was talking about, so it's pretty badass to see him live again. It was a super exciting show. So yeah, I spun that new one, well, 3 years old new one, which it was called Foregone. Because I should say that because, you know, people will probably be listening to this podcast a long time from now and they won't know what album I'm talking about. Just kidding. But Foregone, I really loved that one. Some of the other ones that I enjoyed, if I were to do like a top 5, including Foregone, you got to go with Jester's Race, their second album that's in their death metal phase. And then I would probably go Clayman, because that's kind of when they still were doing the heavy roots, heavy thrash, brutal roots, but they started to move towards their more modern sound that it was still kind of a segue between all that. So that one, that's 3. And then I would probably do Sense of Purpose was the album that the metal purists didn't like it, but it came out, it was the first album that was released when I was familiar with them. I think I was like a sophomore in high school, and it leans, like they really start to write really good hooks or poppy hooks, which I think they have a great like talent for that. But of course, metal communities, back in the day especially, if things had like, if vocals had melody, it was like, oh, that sucks. But then me back then, I was just getting into metal. I was like, this is the greatest album I've ever heard. And then I'd probably go tiebreaker. They have their third album is called Horacle. That was still death metal with the guitarist still on drums. But honestly, probably the one that's more accessible, or the one that more people would probably like, is one from like 2005 called Come Clarity. And that was when they were really getting into their hooks, really getting into their good songwriting. It was the type of things that like you could probably hear some of those songs on like video game soundtracks or whatever, WWE walkout song stuff. So those have been my favorites, but I've been listening to all of them. Really glad I got to see them. Got a short story accepted. First one probably, I think it's been almost a year. Seems like a long time. Of course, I haven't really been sending work out, that was probably a mistake. I should have been sending work out consistently, but I'm doing it again. And I got acceptance that I'm not going to announce yet, because there has been just a very rare amount of times where I get something accepted and then it never actually gets released. I understand that the publishing world is challenging. But looking forward to sharing that one. It is a scary story. And I really am glad it got picked up, because I'd probably sent it to like 6 or 7 other places. And then this one I got a kind of quick acceptance, so that's how it goes. But last holiday, I'm pretty stoked about it too. I'm not gonna do another sales pitch. It's been like a weird experience for me. I think I'm learning a lot about myself, guys. I think this next summer of mania, of cognitive illness, I'm going to focus all that mania on working on myself. Because I really need to fucking work on my moods about things. And it's almost entirely in my head. I know that. But it's easy to like take things way too seriously, as far as like acceptance and rejection, whether it's imagined or not. So I'm just trying to stay grateful. And the book has actually been doing pretty well. I mean, I'm not going to be able to retire. How many people have been able to make a living just writing poems? Nobody. maybe like 2 or 3 people. So I don't know why I kept trying to do that. But the fiction thing hopefully will continue to evolve my my growth as a human and an artist. But yeah, the one thing I realized is like if I ever feel kind of hopeless or irritated or even like jealous or whatever, like eventually it goes away and there's like really no point of focusing on it. And then I'll like feel good about things, and then like those things are the things that you should focus on, not just like the negative stuff. But is focusing on the good things what causes the bad things to become strong as well? I don't know. I'll let you know as I continue to pay attention to my own insanity. Still been reading Raymond Carver, but I also, you know what's funny? I don't, something like I was trying to speak right now. I was trying to speak, but I couldn't think of any things to say. Just kidding. No, for TV, it's been a while. I always feel jealous when people have like top 10 anything, or if they have like a critical eye for something. And when I think about my, you say relationship with television, my consumption of television, you still call it television? Call it streaming? Call it shows? I don't know. Anyway, people, whenever people have like a critical lens towards shows or know all these good shows or like have a fandom towards shows, I'm kind of envious of it. But for me, whenever I try to think of how many shows I've actually watched every single episode, it's probably like 7 shows. Like I'll get into something, I'll watch a season, and then when the next season comes out, I will not watch it. Or even some of the ones that I was super excited about. I'm not going to list them, but there were a lot of shows that I didn't follow through to the end. So I don't know. I mean, I like miniseries, and there are a few shows that I was kind of religiously watching. And so now I've started revisiting another one, which I think I've maybe even talked about it before, but back in the day, I keep on talking about the same era, back when I was in high school, but there's a show called Sons of Anarchy. I still remember walking out of, like, our high school had this staircase going, it's like a huge staircase, wide staircase, and that's where all the students walked out at the end of the day back to the parking lot. And I still remember, like, one of my classmates, like, he was so excited about it, and me and him were walking out of the stairs, and he was, like, telling me everything of each character, or, like, what was going on in the show. And, of course, this was when, pre-Netflix streaming, you literally had to either find the DVDs, which I think it was the first season was still out, or you had to just watch it live, which I think that's something that kind of, it's too bad it's not like that anymore. Like, when you think about shows back then, Sunny in Philadelphia was another one, but, like, you would watch it, and then the next day, everyone would be, like, talking about it. But anyway, I remember, like, he was, like, telling me all this shit, and then I was like, I gotta watch this. And I started watching it. Then it ran for 7 seasons. I've been rewatching it from episode 1. You know what's crazy is something about that show is like, so it's about a motorcycle club. They say club, but it's basically like a crime organization. But the thing about it is, like, they're always sneaking around on motorcycles. Like, how do you sneak around on a motorcycle? You know what I mean? Like, you can't. There will be scenes where, like, they're, like, either following someone or they're trying to, like, go, like, do something, like, sneaky. And it'll show them, they'll be, like, on a motorcycle, and, like, it's like, yeah, I think people will probably notice you. Here's another thing. This is for all you actors out there. No, I'm not an actor, but something I've noticed is this is a character type. If it's like a character who portrays authority in an intellectual way, i.e., like maybe cops and detectives or lawyers or something, someone who's like so smart that they can, like, take advantage of people or like control the environment. Okay, so if that character is talking, they do like a sharp inhale. I should have come up with a quote, but let me try to do it. I'm not gonna do it well. Just to just to show you what I mean by that. So it would be like they got someone in the interrogation room and they're like trying to get some info on it. Oh, okay. So, you and I both know that Sam Crow's time in charming is running out. And what's not more important is what I already know. That didn't make sense. The real question is, what is your buddy in the other room telling us right now? Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you immunity to all of this. Keep on working on that technique, huh? I'll start using it when I do the podcast. You are going to buy my book. Let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to buy my book and you're going to read it immediately. And when you do, your life is going to change for the best. Yeah, it's an interesting show, though. I will say one thing I hate about like gangster shows, particularly like the gangsters are white people. They always like gotta include some racism, and I feel like Sons of Anarchy, it's pretty in your face. Like The Sopranos had racism, but it was a lot more subtle. Not that that makes it like any better, but I feel like pretty much every episode there's some shit. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of like cringe, as the kids say. I know they're probably trying to recreate reality, but I think probably some of the stuff in the seasons I've watched, it's like, I wish that they didn't do that way. But acting is really good in it. I would say the writing of the first season, if they kept up the steam of the first season, it would probably be up much higher on the list of greatest TV shows. But it kind of starts to lose steam and space out, and sometimes the dialogues feel a little soap opera-y. But it's also just like a really good action show. You have to kind of, there's some leeway towards what's believable a lot of the times. But I think that's a problem with TV shows, is like, if you have a character or a group of characters who are at risk of like getting arrested or at risk of being hurt or dying or whatever, in order for a show to run for like 7 seasons, 80 episodes or whatever it is, there's got to remain that conflict and that potential for danger, for arrest, for death or whatever. It's got to remain there, but then you got to have it last for like 70 episodes, which is challenging. But then, yeah, sometimes the action and stuff, it's like they're just doing that out in the open. Oh, I was going to say, Breakfast 3 is in motion. I'm going to start printing them really soon. I was hoping to open up the process of no, I was hoping to have them printed and out to contributors by the end of this month, so we'll see if that still happens. If not the end of this month, then it's going to be like really soon after that. So looking forward to having another magazine out. It's the first one of the year. So it's been at least 5 months, probably more. Anyway, I will keep you posted about that. And once again, thanks to everyone who ordered last holiday. Thanks to everyone who listened to this. Thanks to everyone. Anyway, all of them. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.